Hello, it's eclipse month, September. It's already September of 2025. Wow, it's moved by really quick. Hey, remember, it was 6 months ago. We were doing eclipses too. In the spring in the northern hemisphere, fall in the southern hemisphere, and we were dealing with Pisces, Aries energy. We were moving from Pisces planets to Aries planets, from the 29-degree Pisces place to the 0 degrees Aries place, and this week is all about it. As we move to this eclipse, it's going to happen September 7th, 11:08 p.m. Pacific time for where I'm at, September 8th for others. Saturn is now back in Pisces. It's been going retrograde here for a little bit. It went past the 0 degree Aries point to the 29 degrees Pisces point, this fundamental point that I've talked about earlier in this year on a ton of videos. Pretty much one of the fundamental points this year in the astrology story, 29 to 0. So here we are. Saturn's going to retrace some steps in Pisces and go all the way back to 25 degrees. It's important to note this before I talk about the eclipse and what it means for each sign. It's going to be a part 1 video because I'm going to do another video for the eclipse in 2 weeks. It's slightly going to change. That's part of this eclipse story. But first, we must talk about Saturn and what it's going to do in its review process in the Pisces part of your chart. The eclipse that's happening here on the 7th is happening. It's a full moon in Pisces. And I want you to take a couple notes. I want you to note that Saturn will go all the way back to 25 degrees Pisces. That is going to happen when Saturn starts to stop going backwards and move forwards November 27th to 28th of this year. Interestingly enough, on that day, we have a Pisces moon. It will be conjunct the North Node in Pisces at 14 degrees. And guess what? Guess what happens here on September 7th for this eclipse? It is a full moon in Pisces at 15 degrees. Pretty much the point that I just mentioned on those November 27th, 28th, when Saturn will start to move forward and then go all the way into February. We'll go back over the 29-degree Pisces placement, the liminal place between 29 and 0 degrees Aries. It will do it with Neptune. So I wanted to start off the video that way. I want you to grasp this because the eclipse story, the Pisces and Virgo story, it isn't just here this month. It will play out in certain ways here all the way till next spring, 6 months from now, when we do another round of mega eclipses, right? We will have a full moon in Virgo for that March story. So let's jump in here. I want to mention a couple things. Whenever we have a full moon, the moon is 180 degrees opposite of the sun being here at 15 degrees Virgo and the moon being at 14 degrees. 2 weeks ago, we did that incredible 0 degree new moon in Virgo, and here we are 2 weeks later from a short-term basis looking to see what is exposed in these last 2 weeks and how the shadows are exposed. But we might as well multiply the shadow aspect here of what's exposed here, and I'll get into that in a second. And as a reminder, 2 weeks from the 7th of September, we'll do the 20th, where we'll have another new moon at 29 degrees Virgo. That will be a solar eclipse. All right, let's jump into it. I'll tell you, Virgo stuff when the South Node is there, we're dealing with elimination. Ever since nodes went in to North Node Pisces, South Node Virgo, the Virgo part of the South Node story is about elimination and having to close doors and cut and sever things in a way that could be very hard for those who have Virgo placements, Virgo risings, Virgo birthdays, Virgo planets in Virgo. Okay, and so this is part of the story. It's been ongoing. There's a reality here because of Saturn also being opposite all the Virgo placements here for the last 2.5 years. So this is a bigger story for many of you, and we have to incorporate that into the full moon here on my Sunday, September 7th. Jupiter is a major player in this full moon, and it is your Oasis place. Jupiter in Cancer at 19 degrees pretty much is trining the North Node, a harmonious water connection to the North Node in Pisces, and it's also making a water to Earth connection to the South Node in Virgo, is what we call a sextile. There's an opportunity here. So all is not lost in this like auspicious eclipse cycle, because we know this is probably the 5th eclipse video that you're watching. from some astrologer. We know that. Some of you have it harder than others. But I'm going to give you a little bit of an oasis here. For each rising sign, I'm going to talk about what it quickly means, and I'm going to incorporate something here that you can use for each rising sign that actually has to do with Jupiter and Cancer, because it's so tied into this eclipse. And it is a great tool to use the Cancer part of your chart, regardless of the rising sign that you are. You're going to look to the Cancer part of your chart because Jupiter is throwing some incredible guidance here to help deal with the elimination part in the Virgo part of your chart, and what's trying to also, in a sense, de-illusionize in the Pisces part of your chart. Typically, North Node eclipse, or when we have something happen in a North Node, something powerful is coming in, a powerful force, like a tide is coming in fast. And on the South Node, we have something getting sucked out. So that's the energy happening between the Pisces and Virgo parts of the chart. But Jupiter is here to kind of alleviate the intensity of this, but it has to be accessed. It's not just something that just comes to you, okay? So saying that, I wrote Jupiter and Cancer in this chart, in this full moon chart, is the vessel. It's the vessel, I call it the solution vessel. The South Node, the Virgo part, with Mercury and Virgo being there now, the Sun's being there in the South Node, I call it the elimination place. And the Pisces place, in one sense, is a vision. It is a vision and a basis for oneness. And this oneness and this place, in a sense, sets up something else down the line next year for things that happen in Aries. But first, we must understand and tidy up the vision of Pisces and the oneness that Pisces does with love and compassion, a bigger, deeper story, a story that's connected to divinity, to inspiration, to love and compassion. But it needs form. And now that Saturn's back in Pisces here this week, and for the next so many months, Saturn's going to help with that form. So we're dealing with form on one end and elimination on the other. All right, so let's jump into it. Let's start with our Aries risings, people. Listen, there's a place where one goes to, in a sense, their secret cave, the rehabilitation place, the place of isolation. And I wrote here that the relationship between, we'll say here, the 12th house and the 4th house in your chart, Pisces or Aries rising, this 4th house deals with home and ancestry, right? And stories and memory, family. And that's where Jupiter is right now. And so that place is connecting to another place in your chart, the 12th house, and it's there. I wrote comfort level is connected to nothingness, and the nothingness I meant in another way. I call this a holy isolation into oneness. That's something I came up with. But what I'm saying is the places that you go find comfort, that there's a detachment or a separateness from worry and anxiety, a place that where one would rejuvenate themselves. Could be the bathtub, could be the temple, some place in your life where you go contemplate, and while you contemplate, you rejuvenate and you connect to oneness, to divinity. And so this is a solution away. The part of your chart, the 6th house for Aries rising, is where the Virgo part is, and here's where we can be overcritical and ultra discerning with things. And sometimes when we're in that place, we have a hard time connecting to letting go and letting pieces fall where they should instead of trying to control everything, right? So on a base core level, I am suggesting to you, Aries risings, that there is a story connected to the past, a good part of that story, and also connects to where you rejuvenate yourself and where you find peace and solace, okay? So we'll go into Taurus rising, and this full moon is happening in your 11th house. This is a place where you have a certain vision or something that you want, in a sense, and it could be tied into career and aspiration. But this is the place where people in your life, whether they're friends, family, they're supporters, or they're patrons, this is where they help you, right? And this is where they could help you. And so your relationship to those other people that support your aspirations and your dreams, I'm not talking your dreams like you have at night. That's a different place in astrology, right? In the chart. But like your aspirations and dreams, the vision of what you want to accomplish and who you need and who are your allies to help you accomplish this. You do it by yourself, they support you, you do it together. That kind of vibe. And so you have something changing here. And Saturn now being here from now all the way to February is going to help you try to solidify this possibly. The last 2 years, there's been comings and goings in that area and certain types of reality that you've had to deal with maybe former patrons, former community members that were in an old vision of yours, but something's changed and then maybe they've changed. Maybe there's new people coming in that are in line with what you see next and what you want for yourself. So that's the Piscean energy that's happening there. And it's at the other side of it is a place that deals with creativity, where the Virgo part is, and when the elimination part of that part of your chart, I wrote here that you can't control creativity. And what I mean by this is we, as humans, we want to control our world and initiate and feel like we're on the hands are on the steering wheel type of thing, right? But I think there's a part of creativity that's connected to something beyond us. And a lot of times we're just the vehicle. There's a spark within us, and then there's the vehicle. We have tools that we use to then create, and we let ourselves go into creation. We marry ourselves into creative vessels. But let's say we get to a point where we try to control that. We want to tweak it as much as possible. And then the divinity leaves, the creativity leaves. Then it turns into something completely mental. And we want the balance between an idea and mental activity, but we want the balance where heart, mind, and soul are one. And when we get to these places and we're doing creative activities, usually we kind of hit a zone and it comes easy and it's calm, right? And it can be enlivened too. But I think once sometimes we try to control things and overdo, and this is the Virgo part of your chart, Taurus risings, there's something there we have to let go of. To let go of the criticalness that we have there. Let go of the, I wrote here, can't control the creative fully. Letting beauty take over. Did I write that? I did. I said letting beauty take over. So in a sense, we connect and we merge with beauty, but at the same time, we let beauty guide us instead of controlling beauty. And so saying that, to sum it up, I also wrote here, pay attention to poetic dream interpretations. I say that because the Cancer part of your chart deals with dream interpretations and your intimate surroundings, siblings, all that kind of thing. But I went more spiritual on this one for you. Pay attention to your dreams, okay? Not just this week. I would be paying attention to your dreams, Taurus rising, all the way till next June, okay? But for now, the connection to your dream world, and then the aspirations and the support of others, and who would support you in that way, is the key place right there. And don't try to control beauty. Gemini risings, how's life these days? You got a Uranus transit that entered your world so many months ago. I already know that you have a new storyline come into your life out of the blue. Your identity's probably changing. Everybody probably makes fun of Geminis and Gemini risings. It's like, oh, which Gemini am I going to see next? Who's it today? Or who is it this hour? But I'm talking about something deeper. And only my Gemini risings and Geminis know this stuff. They just know it. They know that there's something fundamental being shaken to their core. Okay, so I just want to acknowledge that first and foremost. Now, where these eclipses are happening, it actually has to do with how you stand out in the world career-wise, or what you're the authority on. You know, your reputation's on the line here. And so that's the Pisces part of your chart. It's the top of the chart, due south in your chart. And that's where this like eclipse is happening. And we're looking for some solidification of who you are, how you stand in authority in that part of your chart. Is it a new career that's coming? Is it something that you're transitioning? Do you have two careers? I wouldn't doubt it. You have a career, then a hobby that feels like a career, or you want it to be, or you want to be seen that way, right? So regardless, that's what's happening there. But there's a connection to that place and your money house. the place where you create and integrate resources in your life. And that resource money house is obviously connected to your career placement, your social status placement, your reputation. It's here where the magic lies. So in that money house, I want you to envision, you know, what types of resources make you feel at home. In a sense, what do you value that gives you a sense of home? And does it have longevity? And there's a tendency with Gemini energy to not do longevity. You do what's quick and easy, and you can multiply and juggle various things. But we want to think long term. And then I'm going to add something here. We want to get out of our heads. We want to go somewhere else. I suggest that you go find a body of water and you walk by it, or you swim in it, or you're in the bath, or you turn water sounds on, visual and headphones, like your AirPods or something. That frequency is very important. And I am also going to bring in something else, the Virgo part of your chart. And I wrote something here. Sever the umbilical cord. And what I mean by this is in the Virgo part of your chart, something needs to be pushed out and eliminated. And it has to do with the past and with home or family or lineages. It could actually be a home or an apartment that you're in. It could be a parental figure, something in the story that needs to be cut and let go of. And this, in one sense, will move the career story, and your money resources house will have a better flow between that career place or what you want to do and what you want to become the authority on. But there's something from the past. There's something from the home placement, the ancestry memory place, that needs to say goodbye to. Mind you might not do it this whole month. It might not be finished all the way until next spring, where things come up again in this story. But I think it's pretty clear here. Again, though, we want to be self-sufficient. We want to find things and tools that help us with our resources, which in turn could be financially fruitful down the line and connected to the career part of your chart. And that's what's up, Gemini rising. What did I write here? I said, dream career scenario is what I wrote for you, Gemini risings. And what are the resources to make it reality? Cancer rising. This is what I wrote. I just got to read the thing I wrote for you all. Cancer rising, the teacher of detachment. The reason why I'm writing this is because this is total guru stuff. I'm not saying that you're a guru, but if we're going to be the teacher, and can we be the teacher of detachment? Because like Cancers are known to be attached to or protecting from within the shell, within safety and security. And those who are around you, or you would consider your family, yourself, your whatever, it falls in that category. But like, how do we do it and where does that happen? It's a deep spiritual story with these eclipses and Virgo and Pisces here on this run we're doing for 1.5 years where the eclipses are happening. And so I wrote the teacher of discernment. The teacher, in a sense, has to do with like mentor-teacher vibes, whether it's you or there's somebody else in your world that we go to exchange and reflect our truth and what we stand by. And this is what's happening in the Pisces part of your chart. There's something bigger, something more beyond, something philosophical, right? And what is that? And what have you been ruminating there for over the last 2.5 years? What has been restructured there the last 2.5 years? And so the eclipse here is bringing something in and wants to solidify this area. We want some sort of discipline or a workshop or a class or an adventure to seek truth in all its forms. So we become the teacher. And I said of detachment, because on the opposite end of this place where the Virgo part of your chart is, we deal with logical mind processes and what's immediately around us. And maybe that has been a little too stagnant. Maybe we've depended on it a little too much and it's only brought us so far, right? Maybe we get caught up in logical, mathematical facts and the details and not seeing the bigger picture on the quest of things, the quest of life. And we start thinking about quest of life stuff, we start getting philosophical, right? So the elimination place has to do, in a sense, with some sort of logic, some sort of like pining on the details. We want to go bigger. By being the teacher to yourself or to others of detachment. It does not mean that you lose mind function or lose detail, but we're just looking for a balance. Maybe it's been a little overrun here on the Virgo side of things, of the mind and what's immediately around you. And whether you know it or not, it's become claustrophobic or siloed in the mind. We want to go beyond. And we go beyond in the Pisces part of your chart. The cool thing about all this is, to end this, is you're having a very interesting Jupiter and Cancer transit for the year that started in June. It goes to June of 2026. And this is your place, and this is your oasis to deal with the eclipses in the end. So not only are you going to do this, you're going to live it. You're going to be your own guru. You're going to walk in the world and not be afraid to come out of your shell. You'll still do your sensory thing to make sure it's safe out there. But you're connected not to yourself, but you're connected to something else. Imagine the big ocean and all the beings, all the different types of living beings in the ocean, and they're all so different, and they have their own way of swimming and their own frequency under there, but they're all part of one big family under the ocean. And I want you to think about where you swim in that family, Cancer rising. All right? So what did I write as a bonus? The bigger picture is the cure for the worrisome details, Cancer rising. Let us jump to Leo rising. God, Leo rising. You have an interesting situation here in this eclipse because Venus and Leo is involved in this one. And I'm only going to say this to you. I haven't said this to any other sign bringing up Venus and Leo. But while this eclipse happens, Venus will be in Leo. But Venus has a funny miscommunication issue with the moon and Pisces on this one. And so I'm going to say a couple things, and please accept what I'm saying and ponder it for a while. If it hits you directly and it feels like I'm being an ass, I don't mean to be an ass, okay? But I'm just going to do my thing, okay? Leo rising, the Pisces part of your chart has to do with death and taxes, really, and shared resources and all that stuff, right? We want to find our solution in the Cancer part of your chart, which deals with a contemplative temple, a rehabilitative place for you to stand from and look at the world from. Now, usually here with recently a Mercury retrograde in Leo, and now Venus is in Leo, you know, all the Leo risings, they've had a lot to say here the last couple of weeks since Mercury's come out of retrograde. You know, they did internal processing during the retrograde, and now you can't hold a Leo down. You can't hold a Leo, you know, you had to hold them down to their birthdays because they have Mercury retrograde going through it in their birthdays. So then they're just kind of feeling like, I'm ready to say whatever, and they have been. But I would be careful of that. And not just that, I would come from a more, this is what I wrote, to be honest. I said the temple of non-ego. So get over yourselves for a second. And can you stand in the world and get over yourself? Maybe it's a part of the Leo story. Maybe not all of you. But get over yourself, okay? How would you get over yourself, by the way? How would you do that? Would you go look in the mirror? Do you need to look in the mirror and have someone film? You set up your tripod and do a reel of you looking in the mirror. And if that's what you have to do, that's what you have to eliminate. But if you're solo and you don't need somebody to see you or to hear you and to do all that, but you're actually looking in the mirror and you're contemplating and you're like, well, we all have ego, and there's all different parts of the ego. We can never fully eliminate it. But Nicholas is saying the temple of non-ego. It's like, yeah, the temple of non-ego is like, what I'm really saying is like, we want a healthy way of being present as a Leo and expressing ourselves. Why do we do it? Where does it come from? What's the intention behind it? Does it need reciprocation? Does it need the crowd to see it or the followers to see it? So, you know, that is a concept that I've been thinking about. And part of the reason is we deal with our own self-worth and value. And the Virgo part of the eclipse actually touches a value place in your chart that's connected to money and resources and production. you know, and sometimes that becomes our identity, and that becomes who we are, what we value, which in a sense feeds our ego. It is there where I feel like something has to be eliminated. So when I say the temple of non-ego, when you stand and look at yourself in the mirror, and then you're ready to let from that place, without anybody knowing, your own personal connection to yourself, when it comes to standing and then walking out into the world and showing yourself, why? Why? Where and why? What is the reasoning behind it? I want you to question those things, and I want you to question it on a deep level. I think it's beyond money. It's beyond follows and likes and all that. I think it has to do with life and death. It has to do with the bigger picture, okay? I gave you a cryptic message this time. But Venus in Leo here is not making the best of aspects to the moon in Pisces. So what I'm telling you is, basically Venus in Leo in this full moon, it's not seeing the Pisces moon, and the Pisces moon is not seeing Venus. So we're going to go to the part of the chart in the lunation of the full moon eclipse chart, and we're going to go to see where we can go deal with stuff, and it has to do with the place where it's the temple of non-ego is what I'm saying. It's the temple of no pressure, no results, just you. Virgo rising. Virgo rising. Virgo rising. How did you deal with that? Those moments of silence, by the way. How did you deal with that? You just waiting? How many videos do you have to watch? How many books do you have to watch? How many to-do lists? How many complaints? How much criticism do you have in you towards yourself and the world? Can you even get out of your head? You know what it takes to get out of your head? You know what that is? If you know what some of it is, that's what you do. If you don't, find a new way. If I said to you, I came to you, you said, hey, you know, I want to show you something that I made. You actually did that. You actually asked somebody for reflection and help without, you actually came out of your shell to do that, something like that. And then you showed it to me and I said, you know what, that needs a comma and it's the wrong color. And I'm only saying this for, you know, it's for the better of you, you know, but I really don't like the way it looks. You need, you know, change that. What if you spent an inordinate amount of time on that? And then you developed the courage to show it to the world or somebody, and then that's what you heard. Now imagine if you had that conversation with yourself. Is it ever right? Like, what I mean by right, is it ever perfect? I mean, it's good to strive towards something like that. But nothing's really any perfect. I think we have moments of perfection. AKA, the Pisces would say, divinity. God, Kali, whatever you want to call that, the nothingness, the mystery. Something you can't touch, something that doesn't go in a fucking spreadsheet. Can you trust nothingness and the mystery? Sometimes, though, our Virgo energy, they're always doing shit alone anyway, and they're always helping everybody out, and they're serving the world. Thank Goddess for y'all. You're really good at it. Imagine if you're doing it and it was always a fire to put out constantly. No one gave you props. No one saw it. Then the load, you're carrying the load. Then you get resentful. Then you get critical. Then you get judgmental towards yourself and the world. Ugh, it's frustrating. You're not sleeping. Fried. Nervous system fried. Ask for help. Who out there has your back? And if you got somebody out there, or more than one person, maybe some strangers, maybe somebody you pay to help you, ask them for help to offshoot the load. And when you ask them for help, and it comes to like how I first started this forecast for you, and you said, listen, I want to show you something. But be nice. I'm sensitive right now. I've been carrying the load, and I'm sick of what my mind is doing. And I'm in a bad mood, and I don't want this. I want something more than this. Preface it. And if there's somebody still standing in front of you and they're like, sure, no problem. You got it. I will be here for you, support you, and I'll listen to you. Those are the people, those situations, those vessels, those places. That's where you go. And don't worry about pride. Don't worry that you set up an identity piece for yourself, that you kick ass and put out fires and take care of things. We know you can do it. There's no problem. But it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to have people support you. It's about time. Can't wait. You can't have people read your mind to do something like this. A lot of times you got to ask. You got to get over yourself to ask. You got to even stop the self-criticism, like thinking that you're not good enough because you're asking somebody else. You know what I mean? It's like, no, you're human. You can only do so much. We ask people, or we pay people to help us. Ask for support by others is what I wrote for my Virgo risings. Friends, supporters say nice things to you and uplift you. What we want to eliminate is what's happening in your first house rising. Self-criticism, self-judgment, or criticism and judgment of the world. Quote unquote, it's never right. It's not good enough. And that thought process and that way of looking at the world, whether you're doing it to yourself or to others or both, that little way of doing things needs to go bye-bye. Some way, somehow. And it requires trust and faith and sometimes things you cannot control and see. But you can get some help. Who has your back? Why am I saying this technically, by the way? If you're an astrologer out there, whatever, I'm talking about Jupiter being in your, what am I doing? 11th house. That's what I'm doing. It's the connection between your 11th and 7th house of relationships. The Pisces part of your chart is your 7th house, your relationship area. And there's a conduit that's going on between the full moon and the north node and even Saturn being back there in your 7th and how it's connecting to your 11th house. And this is the conduit we want to use. You will get the new regimen and new form and all that stuff. But listen, you and Pisces basically get special messages and long ones from me because you have had it hard. I'm being a little hard on you when it comes to like certain things, how I started here, but you're seeing where I'm ending up. I'm acknowledging that it's been a shit show, okay? So for the most part, I get it. I totally get it. Some of you more than others. Maybe you have figured it out here the last 2.5 years of, if you have planets in Virgo and Saturn 2.5 years being opposite those planets. And then you're a Virgo rising, so that means you've had Saturn in your relationship house. And you had to do double the amount of restructuring. And we know you could do work. We know you could do things, but let's say even with all amount of work, with everything else, it's all exhausted and it still didn't give you the optimal part of the storyline. And you realize you got to let go of the storyline, right? Stuff like that. So I'm acknowledging you that it's been tough. Then you got eclipses coming in here at the tail end of a Saturn and Pisces transit. Then you got to do Saturn and Pisces one last time from now, September, all the way to February of next year. There's a reason for this. There's a reason. There's one more thing that needs to be cleared out. There's the storyline here, a massive thing of restructuring. Many times I would give homework to my clients, right? But my Virgo clients, let's say they're Virgo risings, you get no homework. As a matter of fact, your homework is no homework. Your homework is nothing. Your homework is letting go. Your homework is trust and faith in the unknown. And as a backup, who's got your back? And can you put off the work and the pressure with other people who have your back, as long as you tell them the truth why. And go, hey, I can't do it all. I can't handle it. I need some help. Or please, can you just be here for me and listen to my story? I already break myself down self-critically. I don't need somebody else to do it. I just need somebody here for me, So saying that, as two dogs are brawling over here, that's my message to you, Virgo risings. Hit me up. You need a session? Clients, anybody out there, you Virgo risings, I'm here for you. I love working with eclipse situations and Saturnian situations with people. I'm really good at it. I have a conduit into this type of stuff, and mind you, we got eclipses that are happening again next March too. So the story's long, but I have a feeling at this point, you'll reach out to me or anybody else for some support, okay? Props you Virgo risings, okay? Now do me a favor. After you watch this video, go do nothing. No phone. No task. Nothing. Libra rising. I wrote here for this. What did I write? You serving and holding family. Or, quote, Big Mama. Sometimes I write this stuff at 2 a.m. Water, no air. Why did I write this? Be the caring, emotional hug. Why am I saying that? Here, we deal with regimen and tasks and how we do things day by day, the little things, and basically that is where the full moon is happening in a Pisces part of your chart. But by doing little tasks and by doing little things, we build up a story. Now, what is the story that we're trying to build up? We're trying to build up how we show up in authority and our presence. Not as an authoritarian energy or figure, like pushing down on, but more like, would someone come to me as the person of an expert, and would someone come to me for emotional support or big mama guidance, big daddy guidance kind of thing, like, oh, I'm the supportive hug in your life, not the mental Libra energy part of it all. I'm talking emotional presence. And I want you to think about that here in this eclipse. Sometimes from the mental point of view, Libra deals with the politics of relationships, and it will do anything to harmonize, or when they're off balance, they'll think about what I just said. When they're off balance, they will play chess with the world, with the relationships, and still don't get the outcomes, and something's not flowing. Maybe it's not the chess game of the mind and the politics of the relationships. Maybe it's the relationships of hugs, of supportive emotional stability, and being present in that place for yourself, and then being present that way for others. It could be that you're a leader of a group of people, or let's say you're in a situation where you're the one someone's going to, you're the boss at work, or you're leading a project or something like that. How are people engaging with you and seeing with you? Do you show just the mind part of it? Is it just business, or are you like something more than that? Okay, so I'm giving examples. But what we want to do is kind of step out and show ourselves emotionally, basically, that if we were to be vulnerable, that it's an asset. And by leading with vulnerability, you'll find the balance. Water, no air. Be the caring, emotional hug in the world. That was a weird way to do this one, but I did it. By the way, it's step out emotionally, will you? Scorpio risings, we are dealing, oh my gosh, it's just such a, Scorpio risings, the channel, you've been watching me for a long time, I'm always giving a laugh and a smile and a wink to you. You're a baby You're a child. Okay, so picture yourself. You're a child, and you are in a world and free and creative in that world, but with childlike eyes, right? And then you're in that place, and there's freedom in that, right? Can one have spaces where they are creatively free, but through childlike mannerisms? Oh, this color. Oh, that sound. Oh, this, and just rolling and frolicking and barreling down a slide at the park freely and letting go. And so my Scorpio risings have a tendency to shell up. They have reasons for protection, because they're intense people. They're living intense lives. Depending on where Mars is in your chart, right, is how you're going to do this. But in general, I think part of what I'm getting here is the Pisces part of your chart has to do with the world of creativity and children and your sexuality, right? And it's like, can you be free and unleash there? And it's not just in that freedom and creativity from a childlike vessel. It's also connected to, expression and the rejuvenative aspects of expression, the rejuvenative aspects of orgasm, of sexuality, and the freedom of something like that. And it does, it's all tied into a place of a ball of light that we access to be on the edge of life, living fully and creatively. And so basically the Pisces part of your chart has to do with your fifth house, is what we call that. And the Jupiter part of your chart has to do with, I wrote here, be the child in the world, lead with wonder and freedom, which will bring you to a final truth. The final truth is the ninth house of your chart, and that's where the Jupiter and Cancer transit right now is happening. And so, like I said here in the beginning of this video, the Jupiter and Cancer placement in your chart right now is connecting to your house of creativity, right? It's a water conduit. So can you imagine being expressively childlike in the world and frolicking in that freedom? But it had to do with something bigger, something spiritual, right? It's a truth to be discovered. The part that is being eliminated is the 11th house part of your chart. These are supposedly the people and the situations and friends, or whatever you want to call them, that supposedly are supporting your aspirations, your whatever you want to aspire to. And maybe you've been changing here. Shit, if we really get real, right? We know you've been changing back when Mars was retrograde in Scorpio, when we did the eclipses in Taurus, Scorpio, right? We did all those. We had retrograde transit. We had a lot of stuff happen. And here you are. You've been hitting your groove. But some of what you're doing, and some of what you're doing by your frolicking creatively, some people are looking at you and wondering who the hell you are, because it's not the same as it was before. I mean, they know you, but they don't know what to do with this new part of you. And you're just on a mission. There's something that's carrying you that's beyond words. And once you lock on to something, and once you get locked in and obsessed in a healthy way, we know that you're not going to stop. And let's say in this case, it has to do with core life force energy, sexual energy, childlike energy, that thing that drives us to create. You're going to stop doing that? There's going to be those who understand and support it, and there's going to be those who don't. Those who don't, you say goodbye to. They might make you feel weird because you're different, or something's different about you. But hey, out of any sign, rising sign in the zodiac that could deal with metamorphosis and change, it's you. Pisces could do it too. We all have forms of this, but not when you're feeling creative, and not when there's the ultimate truth is involved. Once you get pinpointed and you're using vehicles of creativity and childlike wonder to find the ultimate truth, What the fuck are you going to do? Stop doing that because of what people don't understand you or they're going to say? You're going to do it. And they just kind of follow the wayside. Some of them might disappear for a little bit, then come back and be like, oh, I get it. And they'll be there to support you. But some of them not. You might have to be ruthless in some of your doings and some of your elimination there with some of those people or community or groups. Nothing you can't handle. I can't wait to see after a Saturn transit in Pisces in his creative house, after the eclipses are done, can't wait to see what you make. A little bonus for you. Here on the 22nd of September, like right after the eclipses, Mars is going to go into your sign. Then, for the time that Mars is in Scorpio, it was not going to be that long, by the way, I would unleash the water creativity in your chart. So basically, you're going to have Mars and Scorpio in your first house. You're going to have Jupiter in Cancer, another water thing supporting it. And then you're going to have Saturn in Pisces and the eclipses, North Node stuff happening there. You have this massive grand water trine that's happening there for a certain period of time. We don't hold back. We swim deep with that one and we produce and we create and we do it with pleasure, okay? So finally I get to say stuff to you like this after years of like you guys grinding, all right? Great time to get a reading with me, by the way. Sag rising. Home, what is home, by the way? A little restructuring happening there the last 2.5 years. It's full moon's happening there. Something's coming in. Something needs a final deal. Is it finally going to move? Is it a reconciliation with the parental figure or someone in your family? Did you unearth a box of photos? Do people have boxes of photos? Depends on your generation. Did you unearth a hard drive full of photos? Did something from the past resurface or need to be looked at from the last 2.5 years? I believe so. And I also believe that there is another tie-in to like resources that you're connected to that are beyond you. It could be a parental figure that's not around anymore. It could be a situation that you have investments in with other people, whether it's an investment of $20 or $500,000. There's something there that's happening. What we want to look out for is how you stand in the career part of your chart. There's something there that does not function anymore. I think there is. Is it the way that you look at yourself? So let's say that you had a business card and you handed it to yourself and then you were looking at it and you're like, wait a second, this isn't the truth anymore. Or like, this is effing boring. You know, Sag rising, they don't like boring. They need excitement. Does something need to change on that card? That card represents career, what you're the authority on. Something need to change there. There's somebody outside of you representing you, just putting the clamp down on your way of expressing and being and moving in the world. You know, you need some excitement, right? So there's a story happening with the home and the past and family, and it's connected to what is career, what is status, what reputation is. And there's something happening. That's where the eclipses are hitting your chart. I wrote here as your Oasis place, I wrote 4th house Pisces is trining and connecting to your 8th house. I wrote a beautiful death, a closing of a story within family lineage, or a closing of a memory. What we eliminate is how critical we are within our career or of those who are intensely critical of our career situations and how we might need to separate ourselves from them or that situation or separate ourselves from how critical we are in that place. Whether it's 2 weeks or 2 months, I wrote the weirdest thing here. I go 2 week, 2 month, or 2 year work notice. And what I mean by that is, you know, let's say you were going to quit a job or you got fired, let's say, whatever it is. When you quit a job, it's like 2 week notice or a month notice. So if you were to do something like that metaphorically, you know, you'd be smart about this. Can you get some severance? Can you get a package? Or is like, I'm done with this. Finally, I'm done. I need to be free. I need to explore. But a lot of times we're tied in to other people's resources and we can't immediately make a decision on this. So if there are those in your life that you're tied into in a positive way that could help you. And let's say you could shift the career story in your chart and eliminate something there. This is a good time to contemplate it. Do I say a good time to do it? I think it's a longer story than that in the next 3 months and going into March of next year. But that is what I'm seeing in this eclipse for you. Capricorn rising. I wrote here these little things that I write. Speak to those closest. So what I mean by that is sometimes around us in our immediate world, there are those who can be not just mentors to ourselves, but what we can confide in. We can confide in on a deeper issues. It's not just confide in like the next 2 steps in your workload or in your work timeline, career thing or something that you've been building, right? But maybe something bigger than that, something beyond that, right? And you disclose those things. There are people that closest to you that you could talk to about like the bigger picture of things. And do you have that relational support is basically what I'm saying. So there's a tie-in here for where the eclipse full moon is happening into your immediate surroundings and the more enclosed thinking and those you could talk to about that. And then basically Jupiter and Cancer is in the part of your chart that's elevating relationships of all kinds. Sometimes it could be magnifying relationships that are more tough, but we're looking for the elevated types of interactions that we have with people that you can confide in. But we want to keep things in a step-by-step process. We want to keep them in a Saturnian type based way. When we deal with Saturn, we're dealing with reality, and it is your planetary ruler. Right? So as a Capricorn rising, you're living a Saturn type of life. There's usually some sort of climbing up to the mountain story or some sort of system that you create or rebel against or break down and then build up anew, right? So for the most part, if we're talking generally for you, you're not oblivious to this. But I wrote here, small movements, small thought movements and exchanges. Look to inner circles and close places to help you. So for instance, a close place would be the neighborhood park, okay? And let's say you go talk to somebody that you can confide in at the neighborhood park. And it's in those conversations that we can find a groundedness and solace and peace in, okay? And that's what I'm doing. I'm also going to say one more thing to you. I don't know if any of you Capricorn risings out there, if you're a type of person that remembers your dreams, and they stay with you type of thing, or you wake up in the middle of the night with certain things that pop in, I want you to document stuff here this month. And if you can keep doing this stuff again 6 months from now, I think there's something there waiting for you. This is a little bit more esoteric when I'm throwing at you, but where this full moon is happening deals with the place of dream interpretations, basically. That's what I'm saying too. That's why I'm saying it. But we don't want to be overwhelmed with the insights that come there. We just kind of want to step out and look at it and document it and then take it in a bit at a time. If it seems to get too heavy and stuff like that stresses you out, let off the gas. Aquarius, Freako risings. Well, you got Pluto in your world. Let's just do a Pluto acknowledgement for you. You have Pluto in your world for the next 20 years, okay? Congratulations on that one. You also have Uranus and Gemini for the next 7 years that's going to affect you. This is really good, actually. I think it gets weirder, even better. You're going to embrace this. You're like one of the main players up on stage here for the next so many years in the astrological world. Let us acknowledge that. The full moon in Pisces is happening in your money resource house. Okay, what the hell does that mean? I don't know. Is it elusive? Does it feel concrete? Does it feel like there's been a water leak, like a money leak or some sort of thing happening the last 2.5 years in the money house? I mean, if you've been noticing here, you probably had some sort of way of having to create new resources or to envision new resources, or maybe there's other resources that you're tied in with other situations and people, and you've had to trust for those things to come to fruition. Regardless, that's where the full moon is happening. And you're getting support in this full moon from the place I wrote new systems and regimens that can create security for yourself. Okay, that's what I wrote. The elimination place is you want to separate, if you possible, if there's situations in your life where you're tied into other people and it isn't flowing anymore, and you're tied in financially or resource-wise. Remember, resources don't just have to do with money, but there's some sort of intertwined situation and it's not there. Can you separate yourself from something like that? And either can you find a way for you to do it yourself, or find another situation where you're not entrenched in resource-wise with somebody else, because you can be involved with other people resource-wise, but not where it's like the blinds are blurred and the boundaries are blurred with the contractual situation there. If you're sharing resources or you're borrowing something from somebody and then like hold some shit over your head, or it blurs into other things, it's not defined, right? So what we want to do is, whenever we're dealing with resources, ones that you create or shared, things need to be defined and they need to be solidified. So saying that, I wrote that a new system or regimen to help you with those things, a new way of doing step-by-step processes to help you separate from entrenched situations, whether it's finances or relational, etc. Basically, what I'm saying is, Aquarius rising, your second house is where of resources, where is the lunation is happening. The elimination place has to do with shared resources place. It also is the place of death and taxes in astrology, the 8th house. So some of these themes might be around and there's something that you're tied into there and we want to eliminate it. We want to get rid of it. Eventually, if you can't do it in a day, that's fine. You got 6 months here, to be honest. So on and so forth. That's what I mean. And we are looking for nine o'clock. I wake up and I do this and it makes me feel nourished. I have a bowl of oatmeal. It makes me feel nourished. 10 o'clock. I do whatever it is in my body to get my head set up on my head. So maybe I do a series of martial arts poses or yoga poses, and it makes me feel not just in my head, but I know where I'm standing emotionally for the day. And if I am in touch with my emotions, I have these vehicles to ground myself through a system of maneuvers or poses or to-do lists or tasks, right? And those tasks keep us in touch with our emotional realm and eventually harmonize our mind and body and emotions. And then we can make the right decisions eventually when it comes outwardly in the world, when we deal with the resources and resource creation. There you go. I just summed it up that way. All right, we're ending here. As always, Pisces, you're last. I think I remembered a video I made earlier this year, an all signs video, where I did the Pisces first, because you're never first on these things. But hey, let's save it for last, huh? There's a late summer breeze happening when I'm doing this. And the weather's, I mean, it's perfect temperature. Like right at this moment as I'm doing yours, like, it's like, I feel like I'm connected. This green grass. I'll show you. Let's. Sun's going down. Not yet, but there's just a light breeze. Look at that blue. Look at the green. There's crows out there. Millions of bugs in that grass. To the left is a big body of water, by the way. Tide was going in before I started this video. I feel connected. All in one. Beautiful, isn't it? To feel connected, and the ways that we do it. Something's coming in your world, you know? And the ways we so-called connect or want to connect to the vibe here, right? There's many ways to do it. Some are temporary, some are more long-lasting. Some is a balance where it's maybe not tumultuous waves, emotional waves. Maybe it's a way of being in the waves. And whatever comes, and you go with it, turn into that, and then you mutate into calm water, into icy water, to river rapids, to the sea. And that's the thing about you, Pisces risings, is supposedly you can do the metamorphosis and the mutability, right? You could do it. But sometimes we stay in chapters of the metamorphosis longer than others. Sometimes, let's say, in our relationship to the world, we either are afraid of metamorphosis or afraid to turn into another body of water, or to let the waves take one where they go next. And I think all Pisces risings are different here. It's not guaranteed here. I think one has to look to Jupiter in someone's natal chart to see how they do this. And they also have to say, in this case, if you're a Pisces rising, your relationship house is the Virgo house on the opposite end. And that's where the elimination part of these eclipses are. So there is a relationship story here. Relationship to the world, relationship with people. Everything outside of you, it seems like, right? It's a reflection of who you are on the inside. We could talk about it in that way. Then you have Saturn for the last 2.5 years in your rising sign, like deconstructing and reconstructing who you are as a Pisces rising. And that could be like existential crisis. Why am I on the waves? Why do I do what I do? Why do I care so much? Why do I lose myself in relationships sometimes when I'm relating to the world or a person or something, and I became that thing and I lost my identity, right? That kind of stuff. And then you come to the next place, the next relationship, like, oh, I sure learned my lesson. I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to lose myself. I mean, that's good. Like, you're learning something. I get it. Like, you're learning something. But what if you go too far to the other side? Or if you get stuck in your head about it, you're like, well, I'm not going to do what I did last time. So if I see a certain situation that's coming, again, relationally with the world, I'm going to do the opposite, what I've done before. And become that opposite. And what if that opposite was like a non-feeling AI computer brain that had no sense of consciousness, emotion? Is that a good thing? Pisces does need Virgo, and Virgo needs Pisces. Virgo brings gifts to Pisces when it comes to like guiding, like a GPS and guiding systems so they can navigate the waters of mutability. So Virgo can come up with a tool for this stuff, so one doesn't just perish and crash on some remote island and wonder what the hell happened. Virgo needs Pisces because Virgo, let's be real, and starts doing its thing. It's AI logical. I mean, it has its gifts to do that, to discern and to be critical, so it could have the fine eye to find out what's not working in something and replace that thing so things run efficiently. They run towards perfection. Yeah, it's, shit, we need it. But is there perfection? And is there the perfect relationship? So do we not do it again? Or do we do it again in a different way? Pisces gives Virgo the trust and the faith that everything's going to be okay, even if it's not logical. Even if it cannot be solved, quote unquote solved, the challenging problem or the something that comes up in a relational situation or whatever it is. Can the Virgo take the Piscean trust that everything is for a purpose? right? So they have this relational story. And that is what's been happening with the eclipses in your chart. Add Saturn for the last 2.5 years. Jupiter and Gemini transit that happened the year before that had to do with stuff that happened at home. Memories, family, parents. That's not done yet, by the way. Uranus is there now. Will be here. Next year really kicks in. So what is it? What are the eclipses for you? Sometimes you got to get lost. And sometimes you do crash up. The ship is crashed up on the waves and gone, and then you start the new life on the island. Other times, you can land the ship with the right tools and the right guidance. Still be among the waves, but you still got a ship to get on, and you can still sail to another place, right? And that's the important part here. Now, if I bring in Jupiter and Cancer in all of this, it's creativity. And it's a sense of what home is. Where is home? And I mean not talking about the physical home. As in, like, is whatever creativity means for you in your life, does it give you a sense of home? Now, some out there who are Pisces risings, this 5th house where Jupiter and Cancer is transiting here all the way till next June of 2026, it is one of the fundamental parts of this eclipse chart, this full moon that we're dealing in. It's my Oasis place that I've called upon in these videos. I did it for every rising sign. I talked about where Jupiter was in the chart and how it's the Oasis place. It can help people with this eclipse stuff. And you know, it's you, Pisces risings, Virgo risings, you got it the most intense in all this. So we want to use time to get on the ship. The tugboat's coming here. I gotta go. What I wrote is confidence and trusting of emotions and feelings feeds self by one's self. That there is no logic to this. And relationship views and doing ways of relationships are and have been a blockage. That no relationship can ever be perfect. And if we're making decisions about relationships in our lives, because it just doesn't have this one thing, or it didn't have this or that, or whatever else, it's not lined up, you're going to come back to the same place in 6 months. You're going to come back to the same place in a year, whatever. That's my opinion. The solution isn't another relationship per se. And I'm not saying to not have relationships, but if we're focusing on that and we're putting that as the place as the solution to balance everything out, I'm like saying no to that. I'm saying that we're autonomous people, that we find the solutions for ourselves, and we have to be emotional about it. We expose ourselves emotionally as long as we have the craft and the vessel to do it. The craft and the vessel you construct and you guide yourself, right? The solution isn't someone else's craft and vessel, or the craft and vessel you think you want to build with them together. I know you want to merge with their vessel. That's not what it is. It's not what I'm saying. You can go on that other vessel. As a matter of fact, you can make another vessel with somebody else as long as you have your own vessel and you don't get rid of it, or you don't smash it up against the rocks and you keep it tuned up. You do not want to lose the self vessel in navigation is basically what I'm saying. Now, if you don't have a vessel, this is what I'm saying to you. You create one, regardless if someone else is in your life, friends, family, intimate others, whatever. You create your own vessel, or you reinvent your own vessel. It is your rock. It is your savior. It is a thing that will save you when you metamorphosize. It will save you when you think that you're exposing yourself vulnerability-wise in relationships, and then you feel like it's out of control, and then you're going to go back to old habits of logic and AI computing skills to solve a problem. No, what could solve the problem is go hanging out on your own vessel for a while, go up and down the river and come back. You could still get on somebody else's vessel. You could still get on somebody else's boat. You could still do whatever. It's about confidence. It's about confidence in your creativity and confidence that you can handle any emotional situation while you're emotional. We bring logic in, Virgo, to help balance and give structure to things for Pisces, but it's vice versa too. We can't be afraid of crashing up against the rocks, but we don't have to crash up against the rocks if we got a cool creative vessel to float in. All right? I have more, by the way, for this kind of stuff. If you're Pisces rising, hit me up too, because I got an insight to all this. And I've been working with eclipses for my life, for my astrology life. And I've been studying, I love it. And I just got an insight to this type of stuff. If you have felt connected to anything that I've said in this video and you made it this far, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. If you would like to get a reading with me and you're a paid Patreon member, paid YouTube member, you get a discount. If not, hit me up. Here's the thing, if you're new and you made it this far, I sparkle. I'm golden. But I'm humble. I'm strong. And I'm real. I'm a charmer. And a catalyst. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.